I'm absolutely delighted to accept this award in memory of Gregor von Rezzori. Gregor von Rezzori, the author of novels like The Snows of Yesteryear or Memoirs of an Anti-Semite, has a particular tone which I think any writer would envy and any writer I think should study. It's a tone that manages to be serious without being solemn, but it's a tone that also has a comic undertone. It's very, very hard to achieve. It gives the reader a great deal of pleasure while pulling the reader on. It could be said that those novels are accounts of a world that has disappeared, and they are, but they're also accounts of a world that's here now, which is to do with tone, which is to do with sentences, which is to do with the way in which he can combine, Gregor von Rezzori can combine a sort of seriousness, as I say, with a sort of comic undertone. Also, of course, it's an honor receiving the prize from Santa Maddalena, because the prize itself now has a distinguished history. You know, I was at the prize a number of years watching other writers receive it, and it didn't occur to me that I would be there at some point receiving the prize myself. So I'm very honored and pleased about this, because I think Santa Maddalena itself has been a great achievement. It's a place that has brought writers together, offered them a place to work, but not merely a place to work, offered them a sense not only of an old Italy, but of Italy now, of a world that's maybe closed in many ways to outsiders, that tourists in Florence don't get to see this. But there's also been, I think, around that table, in that garden, a sort of special presence, which is, of course, the presence of Gregor von Rezzori himself, but also the presence of Beatrice Rezzori, who has been, I think, a marvelous mentor and an example and friend to many of us who have come there to work. So I went there initially to write a novel about Henry James, which I wrote in one of the rooms in that house. And this prize is for a novel that is almost its companion, which is a novel about Thomas Mann. It's a novel called The Magician. It deals really with the entire life of Thomas Mann, which of course is a life disrupted, as indeed was the life of Gregor von Rezzori, by war. In other words, that it was very unlucky for anyone to be born in 1875 in Germany. So it meant that he had to deal with the First World War, the rise of German inflation, the rise of Hitler, the victory of Hitler, and then the Second World War. And then, in fact, the Cold War as well. His life was really punctuated by war. But his life was also a private life. It was the life of a writer, it was a life of silence, it was a life of dedication, but it was also, of course, a great family life. He had 6 children, despite the fact that his dreams were homoerotic dreams. He had 6 children, and he married a very clever woman called Katia Pringsheim. So the novel is really the story of a marriage, it's the story of a private life, and it's the story of what happens to a private life in that Europe of the early 20th century when so much was destroyed. So that's the story of my novel. I'm absolutely delighted that this novel has been recognized by the prize, and I hope it will. I write for readers, so it's a form of communication as far as I'm concerned. It is not a form of self-exploration. It is for others to read. So I hope this prize might win the book some readers, but for the reasons I've explained, because of Gregor von Rezzori, because of Beatrice Rezzori, because of Santa Maddalena, because of that honored tradition, I'm absolutely delighted and honored myself to accept this prize. Thank you.